Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, my name's Craig Neeson. Welcome to the channel for the first time, and we do a lot of talking about photography, typically landscape photography, cityscape photography, a little bit about my personal opinions on new gear and gear that's out there that's available. That's what this video is about. I'm taking you along on a one lens, one camera, this time with the Canon M50. Okay, so for my first, well, actually second composition, because the first one was a really cool flock of birds, probably snow geese, or maybe even, they might have been trumpeters, I'm not sure. They were white, they were way up there in a nice V formation. So I like the way that the light is really coming in here and hitting these tall grasses and their seeds. Of course, the seeds are pretty much picked clean by now by the migrating birds, and with it being cool, they're really getting picked clean. There are a few that I see that have not been totally picked over, but I'll show you that photo here. So here's the raw image of the grass seed as I took it out in the field. I'm not sure what it is with the Canon sensor on this camera, but it seems washed out more so than I'm used to seeing on my Nikon or on the Fujifilm that I played with a few weeks ago. I had to do a lot more in post-processing to bring the colors back to what I remember seeing in the field. The quality of light's there in the raw, but it really shows in the post-processed photograph. So, like I'm always saying, raw images are taken. Photos are made. You have to take them and then finish the process in the darkroom, whether that's digital or analog. Let's discuss that down below.
So here's my second actual composition, excluding the birds in flight, and they are definitely snow geese. There's tons of them migrating through today. It's kind of interesting. I found this big maple leaf in some frozen mud down by one of the ponds, and I'm telling you, the water levels are extremely low because I've never been able to get down into one of the ponds like this. So I thought this was kind of cool because we got some good side light coming in from the sun here. The leaf itself is frosted still from this morning. It's pretty cold. We're talking, you know, maybe 10 degrees Fahrenheit out here. So bundled up again. But it's a nice day for a walk and do some photography, and to take this Canon M50 MkII out for a test drive all by itself with just the one lens. I'm not even bringing the tripod. I did notice that the 4K has a slight crop, which is a little annoying, so I understand why people use these as 1080p shooters for video, because then you don't lose even more with the crop sensor. But here's that composition now.
So one of the things that I find most interesting in doing these little experiments is how each camera uses a slightly different color science. So in the raw here, it doesn't quite feel like the daylight balance is correct or the color temperature is correct. So I did a little bit more work on this one in post, as you'll see in a second. Here's the raw compared to my post-processed image. I was able to get a little bit more detail back in the frost, and I also brought some life back into the shadows. It seemed really washed out in the raw photograph, and it took a little bit more processing in post to get the image to where I wanted it to be, or where I'm used to with my Nikon. That's just a difference in the way the image processing occurs in each camera manufacturer's specification. If you've ever seen this before or experienced it, let's talk about it.
This may be the third or fourth composition. I like the way the sun's starting to light up the reeds here. Here again, there's not a lot of water, so it's actually pretty low. This is a marsh area, part of a conservation area, and usually this has a lot more water in it. So these reeds down here, it's usually swampy. That's pretty solid ground right now out here. I usually really like this scene at sunrise, even in the wintertime with the trees bearing it all, shall we say.
So I've seen this scene multiple times throughout the past few years with going up to this conservation area. The water level is a big detractor in this scene. What I did like is the way the light was raking across the reeds in the foreground. That's really what compelled me to take this image in the field. Here again, the color science is a little different, so the post-processing was a little bit more than I normally would do. I did do a gradient to bring down the sky exposure a little bit, so a little bit of blue might hopefully show through. It may not show too well on YouTube, but it does show in the final image that I would print.
So as you guys know, if you've been following my channel for any length of time, I've done a couple of these one lens, one camera videos. I'm looking for a quick grab and go video and stills camera that I can just take with me on a daily basis other than my phone. Yes, I do realize that the iPhone and Android phones make really good video and really good photos. I want something with a larger sensor so that I can operate in a little bit more varied light conditions. Plus, I'm really used to DSLRs, so I'm looking for mirrorless, trying to figure out how that transition is going to go for me. While I like the weight of this camera, I don't think the Canon M50 MkII is the camera for me, unfortunately. It is a really good camera, so I'm not going to knock it too bad. If you're looking for an entry-level mirrorless camera that is lightweight, this is a really good camera. There are some caveats to that. Number one, if you want to shoot in 4K, you're going to get cropped pretty far in. Okay, so this is the Canon M50 MkII zoomed out to 15 millimeters shooting 4K video. So this is the Canon M50 MkII shooting full HD at 24 frames per second, zoomed out at 15 millimeters. See the difference? Yeah. The other caveat is some of the autofocus gloriousness that Canon has in this camera doesn't function in 4K. I get it. Canon really wants you to go out and buy an R5. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a nice lightweight camera. It's a sub $1,000 camera. B&H has it between $600 and $700 with a lens, with this kit lens, which is a 15 to 45 mil. And then again, it's on a crop sensor, so it's gonna look a little bit different than what you're used to. I'll post the equivalent 35 millimeter focal lengths down in the links below. The crop is a little extreme for me. I would really need a wider lens to use this for what I want to do, especially if I want to use 4K. And that's one of the things. I'm looking to future-proof as well. So I do want the ability to do 4K on a lot of things. That being said, I've held this talking to you guys. You're not going to see all the outtakes now. You'll probably see them later in the year for quite a bit. My arm's not tired, unlike the Fujifilm X-T4. And the Nikon wasn't too bad, but after a while it got a little bit heavy to hold and talk to. So unfortunately, I'm pretty sure the Canon M50 MkII is not the camera for me. It's not exactly what I'm looking for. But if you think it might be the camera for you, and at the price point it might be something good to check out. If you'd like to check it out, I do have a refer a friend code down below to lensrentals.com. Save you a little bit of money and give me a little bit of money towards the next one of these that I want to do. Speaking of which, if you got a camera that you'd like me to feature on one of these type of videos and a lens, leave it in a comment down below and I'll see if I can make that happen. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. And if you haven't yet done so, please hit that subscribe button, ding the bell for future notifications, and give me a big thumbs up. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.